In this video, I'm going to give you an insight into how you can make sure your students are as successful as possible in answering 4-mark questions. The type of 4-mark question we're going to be looking at today is a typical Paper 1 4-marker for a student studying AQA GCSE Religious Studies, with a focus on Christianity in this instance. Although the approach we look at today will work for whichever religion your students have studied. There is another type of 4-mark question that students will be asked to answer on Paper 2, or what is known as the thematic paper. But the approach for that type of question, while broadly similar, involves a bit of extra thinking, as students will often refer to more than one religion that they've studied in answering that question. As such, we'll leave that type of 4-mark question for another video, and we'll just focus on the straightforward Paper 1 4-marker here. The question we're going to look at answering now is on the screen. Explain 2 ways in which belief in hell influences Christians today. It's typical because these questions always follow the same format. Essentially, it's asking students to state 2 things Christians believe about hell, and then in turn state how each belief about hell influences them in terms of, for example, impacting how they behave, think, or speak. Working with the mark scheme is essential for any teacher who wants their students to do well, and the mark scheme for this type of question is quite clear in what it wants students to do. As you'll see, the mark scheme even sets out a way for students to answer this type of question, making it as clear as possible to the examiner that the students are doing everything necessary to get full marks. Quite simply, students shouldn't really be spending more than 5 minutes on this question or writing more than a paragraph. As a general rule, 5 minutes per 4 marks, or 5 minutes per paragraph, tends to give students a good rough guide to ensure they complete the exam on time. And this question is no different. The mark scheme is clear. Students should state a Christian belief about hell and then go on to say how it would influence them. Once they've done that, they need to do this again. The whole answer can be done in as little as 2 to 4 sentences. On the screen, you can actually see more than 2 to 4 sentences, and that's because it's taken from a mark scheme. And the mark scheme will normally give as many possible answers that a student could give in order to make teachers' lives as easy as possible. Remember, when looking at the mark scheme, that there is absolutely no need whatsoever to include all of this information. And to reiterate, a student simply needs to give a religious belief, followed by how it affects a believer's behaviour or thought process, and then give another belief and another influence. What you can see from all these suggested points from a mark scheme is how they're set out. Here, I've highlighted what a Christian would believe in yellow. A student would get 1 mark if they were to just write 1 belief. If they were to state 2 beliefs, they would get 2 marks, but no more, because they're missing out the explanation of the impact these beliefs would have on the believer. Here in green, I've highlighted the parts of the sentence that, if written in the exam, would pick up the final 2 marks in our 4-mark question. The stated beliefs are in yellow, and their impact on a Christian's behaviour is in green. Again, they would not have to write all of this. They would only need to pick 2 of the bullet points on the screen to be successful. But more than 2 bullet points have been included here to show you that there is never just 1 or 2 right answers when it comes to these type of questions in religious studies. So now let's look at what a 4 out of 4 answer actually looks like on this question. So imagine your student is sitting down in the exam and is tasked with answering this. What could be the first thing they write? Well, here, the student has picked up the first mark that is available by stating a Christian belief about judgment after death. Now, they must go on to say how that influences a Christian's actions. Here, they've picked up the second mark of the 4 that is available, as they've effectively gone into as much detail as is necessary about what a Christian might do because of their belief in hell. In this case, it will encourage them to follow Jesus' teachings in order to avoid it. So now it's time to write about another Christian belief related to hell. Here, by saying that Christians see hell as eternal separation from God, the student has picked up mark number 3 out of the 4 available, and now only needs to explain its impact on the Christian involved to pick up that final 4th mark. And there you go, as easy as that. The student has recognised and outlined that this separation would be undesirable, and therefore they would avoid sin in order to give themselves the best chance at avoiding hell. In only 2 sentences, this student has done everything they need to do to achieve full marks on this question. Now, if you would rather simplify this further for your students, you could make each clause into its own sentence, so that students in that scenario would equate 1 mark with 1 simple sentence. But that's entirely up to you and what you think is best for your students. So there you have it. I'm Andy from Propello. I hope this has been really helpful for you today. And if you would like any more help with your AQA GCSE Religious Studies resources or teaching, then please visit us at propello.com/UK and sign up for a free account.